wiped out the power in all the streets and utilities for 3 months, and so we couldn't go. They said, oh yeah, don't come now. Do not come now. So we had to reschedule for about 8 months later because we also had to be there when the turtles were nesting. Then there's this whole thing where Saipan is very political. There's all these families, there's all these different offices. I applied for a permit. The guy who received my application got let go at some point. My application never went anywhere. Had to like reapply. Finally, it took the turtle biologist walking it over to the person and saying, you're going to sign this, and we're going to do this film, and the right people would be okay with it. And then I had to meet with them when I got there and do this whole thing where I made them part of the process, basically. So otherwise, you have this, I don't know if you guys have worked in other places, but maybe it's true here too, but it's definitely true in Pacific Islands. If they don't want something to happen, they have this very powerful passive way of just not having it happen. If you didn't come pay homage to the right people and get them on board and say, this is how we'd like to do the project, and then they just somehow silently blackball you and your stuff goes away. So, the Pew Foundation actually tried to film up there, and they asked me to come, and the guy couldn't get a boat. He couldn't get a charter boat. He's like, I don't understand it. Something happened. They didn't want the message that the Pew Foundation was trying to get out. They didn't like that message, the people that were in power. So there was nobody who would charter them a boat. So anyway, there was permit issues. We finally get up there. You guys saw this nice little cake shot in the beginning? It's part of the script that Rob and Laura wrote. Should be simple, right? Just to film a piece of cake floating in the ocean. Oh my gosh, I did the shot like 4 times, like 4 different entire times, like probably an hour each time before it worked. So, yeah, and that is this fake cake, like $150 like Hollywood fake cake. And then, the plate, Rob brought the plate, but it didn't float. It was like, you can see it's like kind of filling up with water. And then he forgot monofilament line. He's like, oh, I never really thought of a way to tether it, because it was windy. So I kept like blowing the plate really far away. And the first time we got up super early to get to this beach at sunrise, and Google Maps sent us on this crazy road that just about ate our rental car. He was so mad at me at this one point. He's just like, oh my God, this is just not okay. Driving through these ditches and stuff. Get to the beach, super windy. I'm like in the water with the camera, not in housing. This low, like trying to film this thing that keeps floating away, getting smashed by waves. And I think this time we finally filmed it at sunset. It was quieter, we were on a different side of the island, and the shot works. And you can't see the invisible fishing line, but there's fishing lines, and we're holding it. But, so, things go wrong, and if you let that stop you, you're probably not going to make a film. Because things are going to happen. You have to be like an ocean engineer or pretty much anybody else. You have to be ready to troubleshoot and problem solve. Okay, this is where the real work happens, post-production. It takes a lot of time. You've got all this footage, you've got all this audio, hopefully like you've got all your pieces, and now you have to make it into a piece that's a story. My workflow is the assembly, so you kind of put all your stuff together, go through it all so you know what you have. For this turtle film, we had a script, and I love that. We don't usually get to have that. But we had an actual script, so we shot all the shots, and they just slid right into place. So that's great. But you assemble, first you have your assembly, it's just kind of your footage. Then you do a rough cut where you start cutting stuff down into the pieces, like into the actual flow of the story. The rough cut can be a huge amount of work if you're lining up interviews and audio and visuals, and creating the story off of your outline, but you have to find all those pieces. You need your scientists to have said word points, you have to find those, and then it's kind of got to make sense. Sometimes people use narration. I tend not to, but sometimes the people I work with do. After you get your rough cut done, everything's kind of in there, then you need to refine it, make it a fine cut. You have music, graphics, titling, credits, all these things take a lot of time. You have to do it right. You can't use unlicensed music. You can't just use on Marley song because you don't have a license for it. So you want to do it right. That's like total cheater way because it's awesome. Like you stick an awesome song in there and I am the coolest video ever, but it doesn't really work that way. You give it to your client, or like if you're me, I give it to the scientist, and they review it. They take it to all the I get comments back, and I revise things, give it back to them, and I make them tell me this in writing. They sign off on the picture lock. That means like none of the images or audio can move around anymore. So once we get to that stage, then we do all the final polishing, and that gives you the final cut in the end. So you do like an audio mix and master where you're blending everything together, making sure all the levels are correct, and clean out noise if you can. Color grading, you kind of go through and make the colors match. Sometimes your color temperature of your lights is different and things don't look, and you've probably all seen videos where it's like, whoa, that's a different camera or something. So color grading is a process where you make it all consistent so it's not distracting. When they do things for government agencies, you have to add captions for accessibility. So you have to do subtitles or captions. And you have to do all your exports where you take that, what might be like 4K or might be ProRes 422, and you compress it so it can be watched on the web or on the iPhone or in the theater. If you have to do all your exports for your deliverables. Okay, here's just a screen capture from Final Cut Pro when I was logging all the footage from actually one of Dr. Tybald's trips 2 years ago. Was that 2 years ago? C.H. Cortez?
Yeah, it's 2 years ago.
So yeah, I'm just going through all the footage. I don't always do this anymore because budgets are getting tighter, but if you log your footage, it's good to have metadata. So I'd add everybody's names, I would add species IDs, and I would log all that. And then you could search and find stuff. You could find like everything with a certain species. It takes a lot of time though, and with budgets being cut, now I do it. I don't do it as often. So it's just something to think about though. This is Premiere Pro, that's what I edit in now. It's just like the very beginning of an edit project. You've got your assets, as they call them, over here. So I've got footage, audio, got field audio, music, graphics, and sequences, or your timelines. So that's when you start to put stuff in order, move stuff around. And this is kind of your canvas, so you can look at things, see how they look. Anyway, and then, are you done? You made your film. It's great. You're finished, right? No, you gotta, like your entire point was to have an audience see it, right? So don't forget this part, distribution, and don't just not leave any time or budget or money for it. So you want to reach your audience. For that turtle film, our intended audience is, and we're doing it, all of the school kids in 4th and 5th grade in the Northern Marianas Islands and Guam. Well, Guam's kind of bonus, but in the Northern Marianas. So Saipan had 7 turtles nest last year. 7 turtles came up to nest, and 2 got poached. So they're going to lose their turtles. So the people that study turtles, when I wrote that grant, they said the Northern Marianas are they're this underserved market, basically. Like we get a lot of films in Hawaii, but bring a grant for the Marianas. And they said, we really need something impactful. And maybe we start with the next generation. Because the people that are poaching just think they should poach kids or think they should be turtles because they have for a long time. But the next generation wants their still be turtles. So maybe start there. So that's how we did it. And that's our intended audience. This helps a lot. So not only do you just like put your film on the right webpage or get it to the right festivals, you need to have good promo materials with it to get people excited about it before they see it. So you have to write a really good synopsis, a description, have some good stills, kind of get people's imagination going. So this is when you engage your audience. You can measure impact to you, total growth. So there's some of the Hawaiian kids actually that watched my How Good You. This was our secondary audience, but it's actually been picked up by a whole bunch of film festivals. We made this poster way back in November. Anyway, it's been in a lot more festivals. The UN actually contacted me and said, do we want to play this on our YouTube page? I said, okay, that's great. So we're reaching a lot more of an audience than we even set out to do, but it's been a great project. This one has a totally different. This I'm just putting up here because it's a totally different audience and totally different distribution. I found somebody within NOAA to go film up at Log, which is part of the Northern Marianas. They're doing really cool research up there, and they didn't have any footage of this entire national wildlife. Any good professional footage, just data footage. And so we got to film up there. So we found money for me to film, but we never found money for post-production. They said, oh, we'll find money to edit later. We never did. PBS contacted me. they said, we want to make a show about that. So they covered all the post-production costs. I still stayed engaged to make sure the science was accurate, and that's what they wanted to happen. And then it aired on PBS, it's on their website, it will go international, like they have some places internationally buy their show as well. So that was a totally different way to distribute.
Far out in the remote northwestern Pacific, islands formed by an ancient volcano rise out of the sea.
They're very, very hard to reach.
It's very remote. It's maybe 500 miles from the nearest population center, so it gets very few visitors.
It was like Jurassic Park pretty much. I was really impressed.
These are the islands of Maug, an uninhabited paradise near the northern tip of the Mariana Islands.
Maug is unlike any other place I've ever been in the world. You're in the middle of absolutely nowhere, and you come to what looks from a distance just like an island, and you see that it's a big volcanic crater, essentially. And you're able to sail inside, and it all of a sudden becomes not just this big roiling Pacific, but almost this lake inside the ocean. Flat, calm, very pleasant, with these big kind of walls rising up around you. And that, just in and of itself, is special, amazing.
Maug used to be a volcano that was up above the water, but there was a large eruption at some point, and the whole top of the volcano collapsed down, and it left this ring of 3 islands around that have openings big enough to drive a ship into. And it's about 1.5 miles across, so it's a pretty good sized caldera inside.
Within this caldera are unspoiled coral reefs.
The coral diversity is impressive. There's areas where you have almost 100% coral coverage and just fields of coral and most pristine reefs that you could imagine.
But what makes these waters of particular interest to scientists is what else can be found beneath the surface.
You can jump in the water, dive down 30 feet, and feel that the ground there is actually hot, and you've got this hot water coming out and gas bubbles.
I've heard someone say that it's like diving in champagne, and it absolutely is. It's not an exaggeration. It's pretty amazing.
Volcanic gases are typically dominated by CO2. So when we heard that there were gas bubbles coming out within the coral reef area, something clicked and said, hey, this is an opportunity to go look at how volcanic CO2 might be affecting coral reef communities and use it as an analog to what's going on in the bigger ocean.
Okay, I know I'm out of time, so I'll stop it there. But so that's obviously a very different look and feel than the kids' pieces that we did. So that's it. So thanks.